The darkness of space held many secrets, but the research vessel had found something unusual. The ship drifted through the void, its sensors locked onto a strange object floating near the outer rim territories. Science Commander stood at the main console, his three-fingered hands moving across the controls with practiced ease. "Magnify the image," ordered. The screen flickered and showed a damaged vessel. It was clearly built by an alien species with sharp angles and dark metal plating. Scorch marks covered the hull, and a large breach gaped in the starboard side. The ship tumbled slowly through space, its running lights dark. "No active power signatures," reported researcher from his station, "but I am detecting life signs inside." His eyes widened with interest. They were known across the galaxy as peaceful scientists. They studied other species, collected data, and shared their knowledge with the Galactic Council. This was a rare opportunity to examine a vessel from the humans, a species that had only recently joined galactic civilization. "How many life signs?" asked. 17, all appear to be in some form of stasis, replied. He hesitated before continuing. "Commander, this vessel appears to be armed, heavily armed." Waved a dismissive hand. "The weapons are offline. Besides, humans are new to space travel. They pose no threat to us." They had studied the basic information about humans that the Galactic Council had provided. They were a bipedal species from a planet called Earth. They had developed faster-than-light travel only 15 years ago. Their technology was crude compared to the advanced civilizations that dominated the galaxy. 2, they seemed like children playing with toys they did not fully understand. "Prepare a boarding party," commanded. "We will document everything. This data will be invaluable to the Council." Shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Should we not attempt communication first, or wait for permission?" "Permission from whom?" Laughed. "The ship is damaged and drifting. The crew is unconscious. We would be foolish to miss this opportunity. Besides, we are helping them by investigating their condition." 6 scientists gathered in the transport bay, and they wore environmental suits and carried scanning equipment. No weapons. They had not carried weapons for 3,000 years. They had evolved beyond such primitive needs. The transport pod launched from the research vessel and approached the damaged human ship. Through the viewport, could see the name painted on the hull in faded letters, USS Sentinel. The craft looked powerful but primitive. Its design suggested function over elegance, strength over beauty. The pod slipped through the breach in the hull and landed in what appeared to be a cargo bay. They activated their suit lights and stepped out into the darkness. Emergency lighting flickered weakly along the corridors, casting strange shadows on the walls. "Begin documentation," ordered. The team spread out through the ship, their scanners recording everything. The interior was cramped compared to vessels. Low ceilings, narrow corridors, and reinforced bulkheads created a maze-like environment. Everything was built strong and practical, with no decoration or comfort considered. Examined the walls and made a disturbing discovery. "Commander, these corridors are designed for combat. Look at these blast shields and defensive positions. This entire ship is built like a fortress." Ignored the observation. He was more interested in finding the medical bay where the life signs were concentrated. The team moved deeper into the vessel, passing through damaged sections where fires had been extinguished and debris blocked the passages. They found the medical bay on the 3rd deck. 17 humans lay in stasis pods, their bodies preserved in a state of suspended animation. The pods hummed with power, drawing from emergency batteries that would last for months. Approached the nearest pod and studied the human inside. It was male, with short dark hair and a strong jaw. Even in stasis, the human's face showed signs of stress and exhaustion. Scars marked his hands and forearms. This was clearly a warrior, not a scientist or explorer. "Such a violent species," muttered. "Look at the damage their bodies have sustained. They fight among themselves even as they reach for the stars." They began their examination. They placed sensors on the pods and started collecting biological data. The information that flowed onto their screens was fascinating and deeply disturbing. Human bone density was 3 times higher than any known species in the Council. Their muscle tissue showed incredible redundancy, with the ability to repair damage at an accelerated rate. The cardiovascular system was built to withstand extreme stress, capable of increasing output by 300% during crisis situations. "This is impossible," whispered. These readings suggest they evolved on a death world, a Class 12 environment at minimum. Frowned, Class 12 worlds were nightmares. High gravity, aggressive predators, extreme weather, and constant environmental challenges. Most species that evolved on such planets never developed intelligence. They were too busy surviving to build civilizations. "Continue the scans," ordered. "I want complete biological profiles of each specimen." What they did not know was that one human had already awakened. Lieutenant Amy Parker had been in the engineering section when the boarded. The breach in the hull had caused her stasis pod to malfunction, releasing her early. She had hidden in the maintenance tunnels, watching the aliens move through her ship. Parker was a compact woman with hair tied back in a practical bun. Her blue eyes tracked every movement the aliens made. She had served on the USS Sentinel for 3 years, and she knew every corridor, every access panel, and every shortcut through the vessel. The aliens were not aggressive. They moved carefully, treating the ship like a delicate specimen. They did not carry weapons, but they were invading her home, examining her crew like laboratory animals. Parker's jaw tightened with anger. She moved silently through the maintenance tunnels, staying ahead of the alien search teams. Her goal was the communications room. If she could send a distress signal, help would come. The human fleet had protocols for situations like this. Meanwhile, in the medical bay, made another discovery. He accessed the ship's computer logs, which had remained active on emergency power. The translation software worked slowly, but it revealed the Sentinel's recent history. The ship had been in a battle, a fierce one. Pirates had attacked a civilian transport convoy near the border territories. The USS Sentinel had responded alone, engaging 6 pirate vessels with superior firepower. Against impossible odds, the humans had won. Watch the combat footage with growing unease. The human captain had used tactics that seemed reckless, even suicidal. The Sentinel had charged directly into enemy fire, taking heavy damage but delivering devastating counterattacks. The human crew had fought with a ferocity that had never witnessed in any species. "Come see this," called. The younger researcher joined him at the console. Together, they watched as the humans boarded a pirate vessel and engaged in close combat. The footage showed humans moving with deadly efficiency, working together with perfect coordination. Even wounded, they continued to fight. "They are predators," said quietly. "Look at how they move, how they fight. They are not peaceful explorers, they are hunters." Felt a cold sensation in his chest. Perhaps this boarding had been a mistake. Perhaps the humans were not as primitive as he had believed. "Wake one of them," decided. "We will question them about their species. We need to understand what we are dealing with." The team selected the human in the largest pod. According to the medical readouts, this was Captain Jake, commander of the USS Sentinel. Initiated the awakening sequence. The pod hissed and released its seals. Vapor poured out as the temperature normalized. Inside, his eyes snapped open. There was no confusion, no disorientation. His gaze locked onto immediately, cold and calculating. Captain Jake sat on a cold metal chair in what used to be his ship's laboratory. They had converted it into their research station, filling the space with strange scanning equipment and monitoring devices. Restraints held his wrists and ankles, but remained perfectly still, watching his captors with steady eyes. Science Commander circled him slowly, holding a translation device. The small machine blinked and hummed as it processed the differences between their languages. "Can you understand me?" asked. Nodded once, "Yes." "Good, we mean you no harm. We are scientists from the collective. Your ship was damaged and drifting. We came to help." A slight smile crossed his face. "You came to help by restraining me and filling my medical bay with monitoring equipment." Shifted uncomfortably. "We needed to ensure our safety. Your species is unknown to us. We are simply gathering information." "Information," repeated. He looked around the laboratory, taking in every detail. His training as a military officer had taught him to assess situations quickly. The aliens were physically weak, their bodies thin and delicate. They moved carefully, almost nervously. No weapons were visible. What kind of information? "Biological data, cultural information. We wish to understand humanity's place in the galactic community." Said nothing. He simply watched with those unnervingly calm eyes. Most species would show fear or aggression when captured. They had studied hundreds of civilizations, and they all reacted predictably to confinement. But this human just sat there, patient and observant, like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. Approached with a scanner and waved it over his body. The readings that appeared on the screen made him pause. "Commander, these results cannot be correct," said. "His bone density is reading at 3.4 times standard. His muscle tissue has redundant systems I have never seen, and his heart rate barely elevated despite being restrained by unknown aliens. Examine the data. Run the scan again, the equipment may be malfunctioning." The second scan produced identical results. Felt that cold sensation in his chest again. He had assumed humans would be similar to other species that had studied. Soft, fragile, adapted to comfortable environments. But these readings suggested something very different. Captain began carefully. "Your planet Earth, what classification would you give it in terms of habitability?" "Consider the question. We just call it home. I do not know your classification system." "Let me explain. Class 1 worlds are paradise planets. Gentle gravity, perfect temperature, abundant resources. Class 20 worlds are death worlds where survival is nearly impossible. Where would Earth fall?" "That depends on who you ask," replied. "But most of Earth would kill your species within hours. Our atmosphere has high oxygen content. Our gravity is strong. We have extreme weather patterns, dangerous predators, and diseases that have plagued us for millions of years. We had to fight for every step of our evolution." And exchanged glances. A Class 12 death world at minimum, possibly higher. No wonder the human physiology was so robust. "How did you develop civilization under such conditions?" asked. His expression softened slightly. "We learned to work together. Alone, a human is vulnerable, but together we became the most dangerous thing on our planet. We formed tribes, then villages, then cities. We created weapons, built shelters, and eventually conquered every environment Earth could throw at us. We went from living in caves to walking on our moon in less than 10,000 years. The pride in his voice was unmistakable. These were not primitive newcomers to space. They were survivors of a crucible that would have destroyed most species. Decided to push further. "Your ship was damaged in combat. We reviewed the logs. You fought 6 pirate vessels alone and won. How?" "We did what needed to be done," said simply. "The pirates were attacking civilian transports, families, children. We could not allow that to continue." "But you were outnumbered and standard tactical doctrine would suggest retreat and calling for reinforcements." His eyes hardened. "Standard tactical doctrine does not account for what happens when you threaten something a human protects. We do not retreat when lives are at stake. We adapt. We find a way. That is what makes us human." Before could respond, alarms blared through the ship. One of his team members called out from the corridor. "Commander, we have detected another human, female. She was hiding in the maintenance systems." 2 researchers dragged Amy Parker into the laboratory. She did not struggle, but her eyes blazed with anger. They placed her in a chair next to and applied restraints. The change-in was instantaneous and terrifying. His relaxed posture disappeared. His muscles tensed, pulling against the restraints. His heart rate, which had remained steady during questioning, suddenly doubled. His breathing became deeper, more controlled. The monitors screamed with warnings as his body flooded with chemicals they had never seen before. "What is happening to him?" asked, backing away. Parker answered, her voice cold. "You are seeing an adrenaline response. You have triggered his protective instinct. I would suggest you be very careful right now." Spoke through clenched teeth. "If you harm her, there is nowhere in this galaxy you can hide." Watched in amazement as strength visibly increased. One of the restraints groaned under the pressure. The human was actually beginning to break free through sheer force. "Increase sedation," ordered. A medical technician rushed forward with an injector and pressed it against his neck. The human's eyes remained locked on Parker until the drugs finally took effect. His body relaxed, but the warning in his gaze never faded. "What have we done?" whispered. "Commander, we need to leave. These are not peaceful explorers. They are weapons given form." But scientific curiosity overrode his fear. He had never encountered a species like this. Every discovery raised more questions. He accessed the USS Sentinel's computer systems, searching for more information about humanity. The database was extensive, found military records, historical documents, cultural files, and medical data. He began watching videos, reading reports, and piecing together the truth about Earth and its people. What he discovered made his hands shake. Human history was written in blood. Endless wars, constant conflict, species-wide struggles for survival. Yet somehow, through all that violence, they had also created beauty. Art, music, literature, philosophy. They had split the atom and reached for the stars. They had nearly destroyed themselves a dozen times, yet always pulled back from the edge. The military records were even more disturbing. Human combat doctrine was based on controlled aggression. They studied war like scientists studied nature. Every battle was analyzed, every tactic refined. They had spent their entire existence fighting, first against their environment, then against each other, and now potentially against the galaxy. Accessed footage from the recent battle. The video quality was poor, damaged by the combat, but clear enough to understand what had happened. He watched as the USS Sentinel charged into enemy fire, its armor ablating under sustained weapons impacts. He watched human crew members coordinate with mechanical precision, each one knowing their role without hesitation. The footage switched to internal cameras showing hand-to-hand combat when the humans boarded a pirate vessel. Led his Marines through the enemy ship, moving with deadly efficiency. A pirate shot him in the shoulder, and he barely flinched. He simply adjusted his aim and continued forward. One scene made pause the video. A human Marine had been wounded badly, his left arm hanging useless. But instead of retreating to safety, he used his right arm to drag a wounded pirate to cover, protecting the enemy from crossfire. The Marine then returned to combat, fighting with one arm while ensuring the wounded pirate received medical attention. "They show mercy even in battle," said quietly. "They are predators who choose to protect prey." Had been conducting his own research into Earth's classification. He pulled up galactic records and ran comparisons. His face went pale. "Commander, you need to see this." Joined him at the console. Had overlaid Earth's environmental data with historical records from the galactic archives. The comparison showed something impossible. Earth matched the profile of the precursor. The precursors were a legend, a species that had dominated the galaxy millions of years ago. They had been warriors without equal, building an empire that spanned thousands of systems. Then, mysteriously, they had vanished. Some believed they had destroyed themselves in a final war. Others thought they had transcended physical existence. But the environmental data was unmistakable. Earth's gravity, atmospheric composition, and ecological dangers all matched the limited information available about the precursor. The genetic markers were similar too. Not identical, but close enough to suggest a connection. "Are you saying humans are related to the precursors?" asked. "Or they are what the precursors became after millions of years of isolation," replied. "Devolved, perhaps, but still carrying the core traits that made the precursors the most feared species in galactic history." The implications were staggering. They had not stumbled upon primitive newcomers. They had found the descendants of the galaxy's ancient masters. And they had violated their vessel, captured their crew, and treated them like laboratory specimens. And Parker watched the aliens panic with calm understanding. They did not know the details of what they had discovered, but they recognized fear when they saw it. The research vessel shuddered as 5 human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They appeared like sharks circling wounded prey, their weapon systems active and targeting solutions locked. Through the viewport, could see the lead vessel, larger and more heavily armed than the USS Sentinel. Its name was painted in bold letters, USS Valiant. "Commander, they are hailing us," a technician reported, his voice shaking. "Multiple channels, they are demanding we respond immediately." Stood frozen in the laboratory, surrounded by the evidence of his violation. Monitoring equipment still attached to the sedated. Scanners still recording Parker's vital signs. The ship's database still open, showing the files he had accessed without permission. "What do we do?" asked. Before could answer, a new sound echoed through the USS Sentinel. Footsteps, heavy, purposeful, moving through the damaged corridors with military precision. They had assumed all 17 humans were in stasis. They were wrong. Commander emerged from the shadows at the laboratory entrance. He was a tall man with dark skin and gray hair at his temples. In his hands, he held a plasma cutter, a tool designed for repairs but capable of cutting through almost anything, including. "Good evening," said calmly. "I believe you have been studying my captain and my engineer without permission. That was a mistake." 3 more human crew members appeared behind. They carried various tools converted into weapons. Their faces showed controlled anger, the kind that came from training and discipline rather than emotional outburst. Walked his chair and began releasing the restraints. "Captain, are you injured?" Shook his head, fighting through the sedatives. "Just drugged, Parker." "I am fine, sir," Parker replied as another crew member freed her. Held up his hands in surrender. "Please, we did not mean harm. We are scientists. We were only gathering information." Turned his cold gaze on the commander. "You boarded a military vessel without permission. You restrained and drugged our commanding officer. You conducted medical experiments on our crew. In human terms, those are acts of war." "War, no, we are peaceful," protested. "They have not engaged in war for 3,000 years. "Then you chose a terrible time to start," replied. He activated his communicator. "Sentinel to Valiant, we have secured the ship. 17 crew members alive, including Captain. We have also detained 6 nationals who boarded without authorization." A woman's voice responded, sharp and professional. "Understood, Commander. This is Admiral Lisa Grant of the Human Expeditionary Fleet. Maintain security protocols. We are sending Marines to assist. Do they pose a threat?" Looked at the terrified aliens. They were unarmed, physically weak, clearly not trained for combat. "Negative, Admiral. They are compliant." "Good, keep them that way. Grant out." Felt his world collapsing. The government would hear about this. The Galactic Council would investigate. His career was over. His species might face sanctions or worse. All because he had been too curious, too confident in his assumptions about a species he did not understand. Slowly stood, steadying himself against the chair. The sedatives still affected him, but his command presence remained strong. He studied them for a long moment before speaking. "Show me what they found." Pulled up the computer console and displayed the files they had accessed. Read through them, his expression unreadable. Battle reports, medical scans, historical records, even the comparison to the precursor species. The aliens had dug deep into humanity's secrets. "They know everything," Parker observed. "About Earth, about our history, about what we are." "Yes," agreed. "The question is what we do about it." Found his voice. "Captain, I take full responsibility for this incident. My government had no knowledge of my actions. I acted independently, driven by scientific curiosity. I understand there will be consequences." Turned to face him. "Consequences? Yes, there will be consequences, but probably not the ones you expect." The laboratory fell silent except for the hum of equipment and the distant sound of human Marines boarding the vessel. Through the viewport, the human warships maintained their positions, weapons still active but not firing. Waiting. Disciplined. "You reviewed our military records," continued. "You saw how we fight. What did you learn?" Hesitated. "That humans are extremely dangerous, that you fight with a ferocity unmatched in the galaxy, that you come from a death world that forged you into perfect predators." And prompted. "And that despite all that violence you show mercy. You protect the weak. You risk your own lives to save others, even enemies. I do not understand it. By all logic, a species as dangerous as yours should have conquered the galaxy by now, yet you seek cooperation instead." Nodded slowly. "You are beginning to understand. Yes, we are dangerous. Earth made us that way. We had to be strong to survive. But Earth also taught us something else. It taught us that strength without purpose is meaningless, that violence without restraint leads only to extinction." He gestured to the computer screen showing human history. "You saw our wars, thousands of years of conflict. We nearly destroyed ourselves more times than I can count. Nuclear weapons, biological warfare, environmental collapse. We came so close to the edge that we could see the abyss below." "What stopped you?" asked quietly. "We did," Parker answered. "We chose to step back. We realized that our greatest enemy was not each other, but our own nature, so we learned control. We learned to use our strength to protect instead of dominate. It took time, thousands of years, but we learned." Added, "Every human child is taught our history, the good and the bad. We do not hide from what we were. We use it to remember what we must never become again." The sound of boots on metal announced the arrival of the human Marines. 12 soldiers in combat armor filed into the laboratory, their weapons ready but not aimed. They moved with mechanical precision, securing the area and taking positions around the. A Marine sergeant approached and saluted. "Sir, the ship is secure. Medical teams are reviving the crew in stasis. Admiral Grant is requesting you aboard the Valiant for debriefing. Return the salute. Thank you, Sergeant. Have these scientists escorted to a holding area. They are to be treated with respect. No restraints unless they become hostile. Understood, sir. As the Marines began moving the out of the laboratory, stopped and turned back to, Captain, may I ask you something? Go ahead. Why are you showing us mercy? We violated your vessel. We drugged you. We treated you like specimens. By your own laws, we have committed serious crimes, yet you speak of respect and proper treatment. Why? Was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his words were measured and careful. Because fear is a terrible foundation for peace. Yes, you made a mistake, a serious one, but it came from ignorance, not malice. You did not know what you were dealing with, now you do. He stepped closer to, his eyes intense. You are going to go back to your people and tell them what you learned. Not just the scary parts about human strength and combat ability, all of it, including this moment right now. You are going to tell them that humans had every reason to punish you, but we chose a different path. Do you understand? Nodded, understanding dawning in his eyes. You are using us to send a message to the galaxy. Yes, the galaxy needs to understand that humanity is strong enough to take whatever we want, strong enough to conquer and dominate. But that is exactly why we will not, because true strength is not about what you can take. It is about what you choose to protect. The Marines led the way. Parker and remained in the laboratory, surrounded by the equipment and data that had revealed so much about humanity. That was a good speech, Captain observed. Do you think they will understand? Some will, others will not, but we have to try. Looked at the star field through the viewport. The galaxy is watching us. They are trying to figure out what we are, where we fit. Every action we take, every decision we make becomes part of that assessment. Parker checked the computer systems. They accessed a lot of classified information, medical data, tactical reports, even the precursor connection. That information could be dangerous in the wrong hands. Let it spread, decided. The truth about humanity is going to come out eventually. Better that it comes out with context, with understanding. They will tell their people about our strength, yes, but they will also tell them about our restraint, our mercy, our choice to use power responsibly. Smiled slightly. You are playing a longer game, Captain. The only game that matters, Commander. Humanity's place in the galaxy will not be decided by one battle or one incident. It will be decided by 1,000 small choices. This is one of those choices. We show the galaxy who we are by how we act when we have every reason to act badly. The USS Sentinel systems began coming back online as repair crews worked to restore power. Lights flickered to life throughout the vessel. The ship was wounded, but recovering, much like humanity itself had recovered from countless wounds throughout its history. Activated his communicator. Sentinel to Valiant. Captain reporting. Request permission to bring my crew aboard for medical evaluation and debriefing. Admiral Grant's voice came through clearly. Permission granted, Captain. Good work keeping things calm. I reviewed the situation with Fleet Command. We are opening negotiations with the government. This incident will be handled through diplomatic channels. Understood, Admiral. What about the scientists we have in custody? They will be released to their government with a formal protest. But no charges will be filed. 3 days had passed since the incident aboard the USS Sentinel. Science Commander stood in a diplomatic meeting room aboard the human flagship, facing people who could decide the fate of his entire species. His hands trembled slightly despite his efforts to remain calm. Admiral Lisa Grant sat at the head of the conference table, her gray uniform crisp and her expression neutral. Captain sat to her right, looking recovered from the sedatives. To her left sat Ambassador, a woman with sharp eyes and a diplomatic smile that revealed nothing of her thoughts. Across from them sat with 2 representatives from the government. High Minister, an elderly official with decades of diplomatic experience, and Security Director who clearly wished to be anywhere else. Let me make sure I understand the situation, Ambassador began, her fingers steepled on the table. Your research vessel encountered a damaged human warship. Without attempting communication or requesting permission, you boarded that vessel, restrained our commanding officer, conducted medical experiments on 2 crew members, and accessed classified military databases. Is that accurate? Nodded miserably. Yes, Ambassador, that is accurate. High Minister spoke up, his voice steady despite the circumstances. Ambassador, the government had no knowledge of Commander's actions. We deeply regret this incident. We are prepared to offer full restitution and accept any reasonable sanctions. Reasonable sanctions, Director repeated bitterly. We are discussing the potential destruction of our species. If the humans choose to retaliate, we have no defenses. None. We have lived in peace for 3,000 years. We do not have weapons. We do not have armies. We are at your mercy. The room fell silent. Studied the officials, seeing the genuine fear in their eyes. They truly believed humanity might wipe them out for this transgression. In their place, many species would. The galaxy was not a gentle place, despite the Council's efforts to maintain peace. Director said calmly, "May I show you something?" He activated a holographic display in the center of the table. An image appeared showing Earth from orbit, blue and green and white, beautiful and deadly. This is our home world. You accessed our databases so you know what kind of planet it is. Class 12 death world. Maybe worse. High gravity, aggressive predators, extreme weather, diseases that killed millions of us before we developed medicine. Earth tried to kill us every single day for millions of years. The image shifted to show human history. Cave paintings, ancient cities, medieval battles, industrial cities, nuclear explosions, and finally spacecraft reaching for the stars. We learned to survive by being stronger, faster, and smarter than everything trying to kill us. We became apex predators on a planet full of apex predators. We developed weapons because everything on Earth wanted to eat us or kill us or take our resources. Stood and walked around the table, his voice steady. But here is what Earth also taught us. It taught us that violence has a cost. Every war we fought weakened us. Every enemy we destroyed came back to haunt us in different forms. We realized that our greatest strength, our ability to fight and destroy, was also our greatest weakness, because if we used it without restraint, we would destroy ourselves. He stopped behind's chair. You made a mistake, Commander, a serious one. You violated our sovereignty and treated us like specimens. Under galactic law, we could demand serious penalties. Under human military law, what you did could be considered an act of war. Closed his eyes, waiting for the judgment. But we are not going to do that, continued. Do you know why? The commander looked up in surprise. Why? Because you gave us something valuable. You gave us an opportunity. The galaxy is trying to understand what humans are. They see our ships, our weapons, our strength. They see that we come from a death world and assume we are nothing but violent predators. You have seen both sides of humanity. You have seen our strength and our restraint. You can help the galaxy understand. Admiral Grant spoke for the first time, her voice carrying command authority. The human fleet has reviewed this incident thoroughly. We have determined that Commander acted without authorization from his government. His actions were driven by scientific curiosity, not hostile intent. While his methods were unacceptable, his goal was understanding. She turned to High Minister. The human government will accept a formal apology from the collective. We will also require that all data collected during the unauthorized boarding be turned over to human authorities. In exchange, we will drop all charges and resume normal diplomatic relations. The officials exchanged glances, hardly believing what they were hearing. That is all, Director asked. No sanctions, no reparations, no military action. Ambassador smiled slightly. What would be gained by such actions? Your species made an honest mistake based on incomplete information. You did not know what humans were capable of. Now you do. That knowledge is consequence enough. High Minister stood and bowed deeply. Ambassador, Admiral, Captain, your mercy honors us and shames us. The people will not forget this kindness. We accept your terms completely. Good, Admiral Grant said. Now let us discuss what happens next. She activated another display, this one showing a map of the galaxy with human territory marked in blue and space in green. They were neighbors, sharing a border region that had seen pirate activity and trade disputes. The incident aboard the Sentinel has revealed gaps in galactic understanding of humanity. This creates both risks and opportunities. Commander, you accessed classified information about human capabilities, history, and biology. That information is spreading through the Galactic Council as we speak. Nodded, our government filed a full report with the Council. We believed transparency was necessary given the severity of the situation. You were right, agreed. The truth about humanity will come out eventually, better that it comes out with proper context. Admiral, I recommend we authorize the release of certain non-classified information to the Council. Let them see who we really are. Ambassador considered the proposal. A risky move, Captain. Once information is released, we cannot control how it is interpreted. We are past the point of controlling the narrative, replied. They have already shared what they learned. Other species are already forming opinions. We need to get ahead of this. We need to show the galaxy that we are not a threat to peaceful species. Who had been silent throughout the meeting, spoke up. The captain is right. I have reviewed intelligence reports from the past 3 days. 6 species have increased their military readiness near human borders. They are afraid. Fear leads to mistakes. Mistakes lead to conflicts we do not want. Admiral Grant made a decision. Very well. Ambassador, work with Fleet Intelligence to prepare an information package for the Galactic Council. Include our history, our capabilities, and our intentions. Make it clear that humanity seeks cooperation, not conquest. She turned back to the officials. High Minister, we would like your government's help with this. They are respected scientists and scholars. If you endorse humanity's peaceful intentions, it will carry weight with the Council. Nodded eagerly. Of course, Admiral, we would be honored to help. In fact, I propose a joint research initiative. Scientists working alongside human researchers on projects that benefit all species. It would demonstrate cooperation and help both our peoples understand each other better. An excellent idea, Ambassador agreed. We can include that in the treaty negotiations. Raised his hand tentatively. Admiral Grant, may I ask a question? Go ahead, Commander. Why are you being so generous with us? We wronged you. Yet you offer mercy, cooperation, and even friendship. I have studied many species, and this behavior is unusual. Most would seek revenge or advantage. Answered before the Admiral could. Because revenge is easy, Commander. Any species can destroy an enemy. That takes no wisdom, no vision, no courage. The hard choice is mercy. The brave choice is cooperation. We choose the hard path because it leads somewhere better than endless cycles of violence. He paused, choosing his words carefully. You compared us to the precursors. You found genetic similarities and environmental matches. Maybe you are right. Maybe we are their descendants, devolved over millions of years. But if that is true, we are determined not to repeat their mistakes. What mistakes? Asked. He had been brought to the meeting as assistant and had remained silent until now. Pride, said simply. The precursors believed their strength gave them the right to rule. They conquered the galaxy and then collapsed when their subjects rebelled. They learned too late that power without consent is tyranny, and tyranny always falls eventually. Admiral Grant stood, signaling the meeting was concluding. Humanity learned that lesson by nearly destroying ourselves. We have seen what unchecked power leads to. We have walked to the edge of extinction and looked over. We came back from that edge with wisdom bought in blood and tears. She looked at each official in turn. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want to conquer or dominate. We want to be part of a community where strong species protect weak ones, where different cultures cooperate instead of competing, where progress benefits everyone. That is the galaxy we want to build. High Minister stood and extended his hand in the human gesture of greeting he had learned. Admiral Grant shook it firmly. You have given us hope, Admiral, said. The galaxy needed a powerful species that chooses peace. Perhaps humanity is that species. We will try to be, Grant replied. But we cannot do it alone. We need partners, species like yours who value knowledge and cooperation. Will you stand with us? Yes, said without hesitation. The collective stands with humanity. As the meeting ended and the officials were escorted out, and Admiral Grant remained in the conference room. That was quite a gamble, Captain, Grant observed. Showing mercy to a species that violated our security, Fleet Command was divided on this decision. I know, Admiral, but it was the right call. The galaxy is watching how we handle our first major diplomatic crisis. Today we showed them that humans can be trusted with power. Grant smiled slightly. You sound very confident. What if you are wrong? What if mercy is interpreted as weakness? Looked out the viewport at the stars. Then we will prove them wrong. Human history is full of people who mistook our mercy for weakness. They all learned the difference eventually. We prefer cooperation, but we are very, very good at war. The galaxy will learn both truths about us, one way or another. 3 weeks after the incident, Captain Jake walked through the rebuilt corridors of the USS Sentinel. The repair crews at the frontier station had done excellent work. New hull plates covered the breach where they had entered. Fresh paint marked the sections that had been damaged in combat. The ship looked almost new, ready to return to active duty. Entered the medical bay where everything had started. The stasis pods stood empty now, their occupants all recovered and returned to duty. The monitoring equipment had been removed, but could still remember waking up to find alien scientists examining him like a laboratory specimen. "Captain, we have incoming communications from Ambassador," Lieutenant Parker's voice came through the ship's intercom. "She wants to speak with you in your ready room." "Thank you, Lieutenant. I am on my way." Made his way to the captain's ready room, a small office adjacent to the bridge. The room was simple and practical, with a desk, a few chairs, and a large viewport showing the stars. He activated the communications console. Ambassador appeared on the screen, looking tired but satisfied. She had spent the past 3 weeks in intense negotiations with the Galactic Council, dealing with the fallout from the incident. "Captain, I wanted to update you on the situation before the official announcements." "Good news or bad news, Ambassador?" Smiled. "Good news, mostly. The Galactic Council has accepted humanity's explanation of the incident. The government issued a formal apology, and we have closed the matter. No species is calling for sanctions or military action against either side." "That is a relief. What about the information that was leaked? The data about human capabilities and history?" "That is the interesting part," replied. "The Council formed a special committee to study humanity. They reviewed everything: our biology, our history, our military capabilities, even our connection to the precursor species. Their report was released this morning." Leaned forward. "What did they conclude?" "That humanity represents both the greatest danger and the greatest opportunity in galactic history. The report acknowledges that humans are extremely capable warriors from a death world. But it also notes that humanity has demonstrated consistent commitment to peaceful cooperation and protection of weaker species." Pulled up a document on her screen. "Listen to this part. It is from the conclusion section. Humanity's dual nature as both predator and protector makes them unique among Council species. They possess the strength to conquer but choose instead to defend. They have the technology to destroy but prefer to build. The Council recommends full acceptance of humanity as partners in galactic security and development." Felt tension he did not know he was carrying release from his shoulders. "So we passed the test." "More than passed it, Captain. 6 species have already approached human diplomats about defense treaties. They want human ships patrolling their borders. They want human marines training their security forces. They want our protection." "That is a lot of responsibility." "Yes, it is. Fleet Command is already planning expansion. More ships, more bases, more personnel. Humanity is about to become the galaxy's peacekeepers, whether we want the role or not." Thought about that for a moment. "And how are they handling all this attention?" His expression softened. "Surprisingly well. Commander has become something of a celebrity in scientific circles. He writes articles about his experience aboard the Sentinel, always emphasizing the lessons about human restraint and mercy. His government has fully embraced cooperation with humanity. We are setting up joint research stations and exchange programs. From terrified prisoner to willing partner in 3 weeks. That is quite a transformation." "Fear and understanding are strange companions, Captain. They were afraid because they did not understand us. Now they understand, and the fear has become respect. That is what we need to spread across the galaxy. Not fear of human power, but respect for how we choose to use it." A chime sounded, indicating another incoming transmission. Parker's voice came through again. "Captain, we have a request for docking clearance from a transport vessel. They say they have a passenger for us." Exchanged glances with the ambassador's image. "Did you know about this?" Shook her head. "No, but I have my suspicions. Let them dock, Captain. I think you will want to meet this passenger." Made his way to the docking bay where Commander and a security team waited. The transport was small, designed for short-range travel between systems. It connected to the Sentinel's airlock with a soft thud. The airlock opened and 2 figures stepped through. The first was the young researcher who had urged caution during the incident. The second figure made pause. It was a human. A young man with dark hair and bright eyes, wearing a scientific uniform with human fleet insignia on the sleeve. "Captain, sir, the young man said, saluting crisply. Ensign Danny Wright, reporting for duty. I have been assigned to the Sentinel as part of the Human Exchange Program. Returned the salute. Ensign Wright, welcome aboard. I was not aware we were participating in the exchange program. Last-minute decision, sir. Fleet Command thought the Sentinel would be the perfect place to start, given our history with the... Stepped forward nervously. Captain, I volunteered to join the Sentinel's crew as well. If you will have me, I want to learn from humans directly. I want to understand your species better than any ever has. Studied the two young people before him. One human excited to work with aliens. One alien determined to understand humans. Both representing the future that could emerge from the incident that had nearly caused an interstellar crisis. Commander, get these two settled. Right, you will work with Lieutenant Parker in engineering. You will work with our science officer. Welcome to the Sentinel, both of you. As led the new arrivals away, returned to his ready room. Ambassador was still on the screen, smiling. You knew about this, accused. I might have suggested to Fleet Command that the Sentinel would be ideal for the exchange program. You have experience with the, after all. Shook his head but smiled despite himself. What else should I know, Ambassador? The Council is assigning the Sentinel to the Frontier Patrol. You will be working in the border regions, protecting trade routes and responding to pirate activity. But there is more to the mission. You will also be hosting diplomatic visits from species that want to see humans in action. You are going to be a symbol, Captain, a demonstration of what humanity can be. No pressure, then. Laughed, you handled and his team perfectly. You showed exactly the kind of judgment and restraint that humanity needs to demonstrate. Fleet Command has confidence in you. So do I. Thank you, Ambassador. When do we ship out? 2 days. Use the time to integrate your new crew members and make sure the ship is ready. Oh, and Captain, one more thing. The Council wants to give you a commendation for your handling of the incident. There will be a ceremony when you return from your first patrol. I will try not to mess anything up before then. See that you do not. Good luck, Captain, out. The screen went dark, sat in his chair and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, species were watching humanity, trying to understand what these newcomers represented. Some saw humans as dangerous predators from a death world. Others saw potential saviors who could protect the weak. Both views were true in their way. The door chimed, "Come in." Lieutenant Parker entered, followed by Ensign Wright, and the young looked nervous but determined. Sir, we wanted to thank you, Parker said, for giving us this opportunity. The exchange program is important for both species. Gestured for them to sit. I did not create this opportunity. Commander did when he boarded my ship. He made a mistake, but sometimes mistakes lead to unexpected benefits. His curiosity, however misguided, opened a door between our species. Now we walk through that door together. Captain began hesitantly, may I ask you something? When I was part of the team that boarded this ship, I was terrified when I realized what humans were capable of. But you showed mercy when you could have shown violence. Why? What makes humans choose peace when war would be easier? Considered the question carefully. It was the same question everyone seemed to ask. What made humans different? What made them choose restraint over their predatory nature? Because we remember every war we fought on Earth, every battle that left cities in ruins and millions dead. We remember building weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We remember standing on the edge of extinction, looking down into the darkness and deciding to step back. He stood and walked to the viewport. Humans have a saying, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. We learned our lessons the hard way. We paid for our education in blood and tears. Now we use that knowledge to make better choices. But you are still capable of violence, observed. The battle records show humans are extremely effective warriors. Yes, we are, and we always will be. You cannot unlearn survival skills that took millions of years to develop. But capability and choice are different things. We are capable of great violence. We choose not to use it except when necessary to protect others. Parker added, Earth made us fighters, but Earth also taught us that fighting has costs. Every predator on our planet learned that the hunt is dangerous. The prey fights back. Resources are limited. Survival requires more than just strength. It requires wisdom. Wright spoke up, his youth showing in his enthusiasm. My grandfather fought in the border wars before humanity joined the Council. He told me stories about the battles, the friends he lost, the enemies he killed. But he also told me about the day the fighting stopped. He said it was the best day of his life, not because he was weak or afraid, but because he had seen enough death to last 1,000 lifetimes. Nodded, that is the human paradox. We are very good at war, which is exactly why we prefer peace. We know what war costs. We have paid that price too many times. So when we have the choice, we choose mercy over revenge, cooperation over conquest, understanding over fear. But what if other species do not make that same choice? Asked. What if they see human mercy as weakness? What if they attack? The captain's expression hardened. Then we remind them why Earth is classified as a death world. We remind them that we choose peace, but we have not forgotten how to fight. We remind them that the most dangerous predator is the one that shows mercy until mercy becomes impossible. That sounds like a warning. It is a warning, but it is also a promise. A promise that humans will use our strength to protect those who cannot protect themselves. A promise that we will stand between the weak and the strong, between the innocent and the guilty. That is what Earth taught us, to be strong for others, not just for ourselves. The ready room fell silent as his words settled over them. Outside the viewport, the stars burned with ancient light. Somewhere among those stars, civilizations watched and wondered about humanity. Some with hope, some with fear, all with questions. Parker broke the silence. Captain, the crew is assembled in the main bay. They want to welcome our new members properly. Smiled, then let us not keep them waiting. Right, welcome to the family. You are Sentinel crew now. We protect each other, we respect each other, and we never leave anyone behind. Those are our rules. Follow them and you will do fine. Yes, sir, they replied together. As they left the ready room, paused to look back at the stars one more time. The galaxy was entering a new age, an age where humans would play a central role in shaping the future. It was a heavy responsibility, but humanity had carried heavy burdens before. The incident with the had revealed a truth that could not be hidden. Humans were the galaxy's apex predators, forged in the fires of Earth's hostile environment. But they were also something more. They were predators who chose to protect their prey, warriors who preferred peace, dangerous beings who used their danger to keep others safe. That truth had paralyzed them with fear and wonder. It would affect every species in the galaxy, changing how they viewed humanity and how humanity viewed itself. The responsibility was enormous, but believed humans could handle it. They had survived Earth, after all. They had survived themselves. The galaxy would be easier. He made his way to the main bay where his crew waited. Human faces mixed with features, the beginning of something new. The USS Sentinel was no longer just a human vessel. It was a symbol of cooperation, a bridge between species, a promise that the future could be better than the past. Commander sent a final message before the Sentinel departed. Read it alone in his quarters that night. Captain, thank you for teaching us that strength without wisdom is not strength at all, but weakness. Thank you for showing us that the most dangerous species in the galaxy chose to be its guardians instead of its conquerors. Though we'll remember this lesson. We will help others learn it too. May your journey be safe, and may humanity's light continue to show the way forward. Composed a simple reply. Commander, thank you for your curiosity, even though it was poorly executed. Without your mistake, we might never have had this conversation. The galaxy is better because you sought to understand rather than to fear. Keep learning, keep teaching. We will do the same. The next morning, the USS Sentinel undocked from Frontier Station and set course for the patrol routes in the border regions. The crew worked together smoothly, human and side by side. On the bridge, watched the stars streak past as the ship accelerated to faster-than-light speed. Course laid in, Captain, the helmsman reported. Ready for jump on your command. Looked around the bridge, his crew, his family, his responsibility, all watching him, waiting for the order that would take them into the unknown. Jump, he commanded. The USS Sentinel leaped forward into the darkness between stars, carrying with it the hopes and fears of two species, the promise of cooperation, and the proof that even the most dangerous beings in the galaxy could choose to be something better. The incident that began with fear and violation had ended with understanding and partnership. The aliens who had probed the human warship had learned a shocking truth that left them paralyzed. Humanity was exactly as dangerous as they feared and exactly as merciful as they hoped. That truth would spread across the galaxy, changing everything. and Captain Jake would be there to help write the next chapter of humanity's story among the stars. "Let us hope they learn the lesson peacefully," Grant said. "Yes, Admiral, let us hope. D Fleet Command agrees with your assessment. This is an opportunity for teaching, not punishment." Smiled, "Thank you, Admiral, out." As they prepared to transport to the Valiant, Parker voiced the question they were all thinking. What happens now? The galaxy knows about us, really knows about us. Consider the question carefully. Now we prove that knowledge does not have to lead to fear. We show them that humans can be trusted with power. We become what the galaxy needs us to be, not conquerors but guardians, not predators but protectors. "That is a heavy burden," observed. "Yes," agreed, "but it is the burden that comes with strength, and we have carried heavier." Suddenly, new alarms began blaring. The research vessel's sensors had detected multiple ships approaching at high speed. Large ships, human warships responding to a distress signal. Parker allowed herself a small smile. She had managed to send the signal before being captured. "Looks like you are about to meet more of us," she said quietly. For the first time in his long career, Science Commander felt genuine fear. The human's eyes held the look of a predator that had just found intruders in its territory. In the shadows above, Amy Parker watched through a maintenance grate. Her hand hovered over the emergency communications panel she had finally reached. One press of the button and help would come. But her captain was awake now, and she needed to see how this would unfold before making her move.